And everybody was going to hold it till last, but what do you think the future price of Bitcoin might be in 2031?
Bitcoin, the digital currency created a dozen years ago as an alternative to cash, is exploding in value. Will it last?
I was doing some work on this on the weekend for Global Macro Investor. I'm kind of thinking, I'm kind of a little bit overly bullish right now. And I think the cycle, well, no, because that's not fair, because I was looking at the cycle itself. I think Bitcoin somewhere north of 200 and ETH closer to 15K. But I think we finished the cycle with Bitcoin close to 400 and ETH closer to 40,000.
Once a country like Zimbabwe starts to print money, you take the first jump and you can't go back up. Then you take the next jump and there's 4 more falls to go and you keep jumping. And so that's what Robert Breedlove's talking about in this program here is America's already gone down that road. We took a big jump in 2021. This is March 2021, and we're going to keep jumping. So the question is, Mr. Breedlove, what do you see happening in the future? I mean, we have 2031 coming, and everybody was going to hold it till last, but what do you think the future price of Bitcoin might be in 2031? But keep going into your analysis of why we have to keep jumping.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's an old saying that says it's harder to stop halfway downhill than to just not go initially. And I think that's what inflation is.
Yeah.
And this law that we mentioned, this law of accelerating issuance and depreciation related to currency, this is an ancient law. I mean, it's been written about for hundreds and hundreds of years. This is not a joke. This is not something I made up. This is something you can find everywhere, that this pattern repeats. Once countries start down this path, it's very bad and it's inescapable. You can't turn back. So going into 2031, which as we left off earlier, I would expect the US money supply to expand from 20 trillion-ish today to about 500 trillion in the next 10 years. I expect global M2 to expand roughly 12x, from around 100 trillion to about 1,250 trillion, 1.25 quadrillion. And the difference there is that a lot of the weaker international currencies will have collapsed into the dollar. So the dollar will actually have grown in purchasing power overall. And I think by this time, so going into 2031, let's say, that Bitcoin will have continued its growth trajectory. It will have played out another one of these price cycles. Possibly its price cycle will have broken and it just gone into a long, slow grind upwards as people realize it's a game of accumulation. And I think Bitcoin by this time will have reached about 20% of global purchasing power. So this would imply Bitcoin's market cap in 2031 dollars to be about $250 trillion. So that's about 1/5 of global M2 stored in Bitcoin. Now, accounting for inflation, that means Bitcoin's market cap in today's dollars would be about 20 trillion. So in 2031 dollars, and this is a very bright line to distinguish, I think Bitcoin by the year 2031 will be north of $12.5 million per Bitcoin.
Jesus.
But
$12.5 million per coin?
$12.5 million, but adjusting for inflation, it will only feel like north of $1 million per Bitcoin in 2021 dollars, because the dollar will have lost so much of its value by then. $12.5 million will spend like $1 million. So that's my prediction for by 2031. And then that's going to clearly have some big impact on fiat currencies, including the dollar.
Well, again, that goes back to Gresham's law, is that the more fake money what you're talking about is when they increase M2 and M3 and all of those stuff they taught me in economics, which I forgot. It's just printing more money. That's all they're doing.
Right.
And so that's what gives Bitcoin and the blockchain technology so much more credibility than the central bank money. Fake money, I call it.
That's right. It's
so,
as I've said in a past episode with you, actually, it's a pyramid scheme.
Oh God, yes.
when we say printing money, you're not actually creating any new wealth or value.
No.
You're just shifting the claims on existing capital. And you're stealing from those that are dependent on the dollar to hold its value, which are the poor, those living on fixed income, retirees, pensioners. You're stealing from the most economically vulnerable,
right,
and giving to those with access to the freshly printed money.
Right. And look, this is why my wife and I started the Rich Dad Companies. We need financial education. Just as simple as Gresham's law. Fake money drives out good money. You have bad money. And our Federal Reserve Bank, the smartest guys on earth, don't fight the Fed. They're printing trillions. And we have millions of Americans and people all over the world waiting for the stimulus check. We're going to crush them. I mean, from your financial background, in my opinion, every time we print money, we just create more poor people. I mean, that's what we're doing.